Okay, it is planting time here. Somehow I'm convinced that the person that buys plants is somehow different than the person that has the motivation to plant plants. And I don't know if it's just the busy season in life that's happening. There's so many festivals and fun things and birthday parties that finding times to plant sometimes gets a little tricky, but we're going to do it today. So I figured while I was planting, I would take a quick video and show you how I plant in clay soil, give you tips on planting in clay, and also how I sheet mulch, which is a method where you can smother out the sod instead of digging the sod up manually, so you can save yourself the back pain and advil. The plants that I am planting in this area, they are all low maintenance, compact evergreen shrubs and perennials. This area was previously a very awkward strip of grass that I accidentally created when I added in this bed right here and didn't also landscape this area right here. So mowing this little triangular strip of grass has been a giant pain in the butt. If you also mow your own lawn, you know how many times you kind of have to maneuver the lawnmower before you can get it to turn to a different angle. I'm gonna make mowing easier on myself and just get rid of this awkward spot. I'm not going to be talking much about the plants today. I'm going to be focused on how I sheet mulch and how I plant in clay soil. But if you are interested in learning more about the plants, there is another short video up that is an unboxing video, and I walk through each of these plants and why I got it and what's so awesome about them. So if you are looking for more info on plants, definitely check out this video right here that I'm going to link for you. But let's get digging.
So as you can see, I have a lot of digging to do. I always start by outlining how wide each plant is, and basically I use the planter like a stencil and I take my shovel around it. This is the only sod that I will be removing during this project. I am going to be using cardboard to kill all of the sod around it, but you do have to remove the sod from the planting hole. If you have any holes in your sod or your lawn, this would be a great way to patch those holes. You can definitely reuse any of the sod that you're removing. I'm lucky that my county picks up yard waste, so all of this is going to the curb for me as I don't have any kind of spots that I need to fill. I really hate removing sod, so I'm grateful for the sheet mulching method, which just allows you to kind of remove minimal sod, plant directly into the lawn, and create new garden spaces by layering on cardboard and soil and mulch, and all of that works to smother all of the grass around instead of having to manually dig it up, because man, I hate digging up sod.
So now that I've gotten the sod removed for the holes that I'm going to be filling with plants, let's talk a little bit about planting in clay soil. So when I first started gardening, say I would pick up 4 plants that I wanted to add into my garden, I would also pick up a bag of topsoil. I would dig a very deep hole. I would add a 1/4 of a bag of topsoil, plop the plant on top, add some more topsoil, and then water it in and call it a day. I don't do that anymore for a couple of reasons. So what I started noticing, especially on perennials, most of the shrubs didn't mind, but a lot of the perennials didn't come back the next year. And what I was doing is I was planting the plants too deep. So over time, soil settles, especially loose soil like topsoil. So what you really want to do is dig a hole that is just the depth of your container, maybe even a little bit less. I try to plant my plants at least an inch above the soil level. It feels really weird and wrong, but trust me, the plants will settle over time. Throw some mulch on top of it and forget about it. The plant will be much happier over time. Your plants will do so much better if you're planting it a little bit above the soil level and letting it settle, even if it doesn't settle all of the way. Plants want to have good drainage, and one thing that clay soil isn't the best at is drainage. Another tip for planting in clay soil is to truly select plants that will tolerate clay soil. I always look for it in plant descriptions, and if I am planting something that needs good drainage, what I will do is I will add permatill. Permatill is like a very fine gravel product that will permanently break up the clay. I've used other soil amendment products in the past, and honestly, they're okay, but they're a more temporary fix. If you have a very heavy clay soil, going with a product that's more rock-based will be a more permanent solution, hence the name Permatil. And for the most part, I don't add any sort of topsoil or compost into the planting hole anymore. If I have it on hand, sure, but what I like to do is take the soil that the plant was grown in and has grown up in its whole life. It's pretty much the perfect soil for your plant, and mix it in with the native soil that I have here. So let me show you the difference real quick. So this is pretty much my native soil through much of the garden. And honestly, that's because we started from ground zero. We completely leveled our garden so that we could have a level backyard. And now the majority of our garden has very, very little topsoil and very, very heavy clay. Over time, that's something that I am building up by adding mulch to the garden, having the mulch break down, and in a lot of the beds that I have mulched for years, the soil is much, much, much better. But areas that I haven't yet gardened in look like this, and that's okay. You can still plant in this. But it is very different from the soil that is in the cans that your plants grew up in. So here's the soil that the plants grew up in, and here's my native soil. Clearly very, very different. What I like to do to get this closer, I'll show you as I'm planting, but what I like to do is take any of the soil that I can knock loose from the plants and mix it with my native soil so that you get almost like a happy medium. And then this is what I end up planting plants in, and things seem to do much better this way. And it's easier on the wallet because you're not buying topsoil anymore. Round one was cutting out the sod for where I'm going to plant. Round two is going to be getting all of those plants into the ground. So let's go.
This clay was no joke. I know this video is sped up, but this wasn't the funnest job, and I do want to be transparent about that. I feel like a lot of the times I'm trying to share tips with you to make gardening easier or more fun, but I know later this will be a much funner job because I will not have to do crazy lawnmower maneuvers, and this will be beautiful. Also, I get a lot of questions when I share how I plant as to whether it's necessary to kind of tease out the roots. I don't know how to answer that. I seem to always do it. Sometimes if there's very little root ball or it's not root bound at all, I'll plant it as is. But for the most part, I like to kind of mess up the roots. I feel like I'm telling them, hey, you can expand and explore. You're not just stuck in that little can anymore. So go forth and explore the soil. But it's hard to know if that's required. I didn't really do a control experiment where I teased the root ball of one, I didn't tease the root ball of the other. But also this knocks off that loose soil, and then I'm able to mix it half and half. And for whatever reason, I've had a lot of success planting like this, and maybe it's all voodoo, but I just share what works for me. You obviously have to try things in your own garden to figure out what ends up working for you, but it's been a good method for me, and that's why I share. I also have always started adding water to the planting hole before I backfill with soil. This creates almost like a little bath where your plant gets to get a nice soak, not just your plant, but also the soil around your plant. That makes the whole area nice and hydrated. A happy plant is a hydrated plant, and it really just makes for an easy transplant. I don't know about you, but I only get to garden in certain increments throughout the day, normally just in the morning or in those small pockets when my kids are being entertained by someone other than me. So this is actually day 2. Day 1, I got all of the plants in the ground, and now day 2 is going to be focused on sheet mulching. With the sheet mulching method, I'm going to be adding cardboard, soil, and mulch on top, and in order for me to do that, I need to have some sort of barrier in place here because otherwise, one hard rain and everything gets washed right off. So that's why I'm first going to install this edging. I've seen these edging kits available at almost every big box store. It's just a matter of digging them in. One thing that I wish I had done sooner is buy myself a good step edger. We got one at a garage sale and I was like, it's fine. It was flimsy. It wasn't sharp anymore. The day that I bought a nice step edger was the day that I hated edging a little bit less. I'm still not a fan of the process. I love the look, but Buying yourself a good step edger really makes the whole thing so much easier, and it's very much worth it. Once we got all of the edging in place, it was time to really start sheet mulching. But first, a moment of appreciation for how good the edging looks. Okay, moving on. First off, for sheet mulching, you're going to need a lot of cardboard. I collect Amazon boxes. I'll collect any kind of cardboard I see around the neighborhood on the recycling and trash days. I had a lot of cardboard packaging from the plants that were shipped to me, and so I'm using that. If you're not an Amazon addict like me or can't find cardboard, you can use newspaper to smother out the grass. Really, you're just creating a barrier that will take a little while to break down so that the grass dies and you're not digging it up instead. So whatever you have, cardboard, newspaper, will be perfect for this. Now just take those cardboard pieces and weave them through your plants. The goal is to make sure that you're covering up all of the grass that you left behind and didn't remove while you were planting. If you have extra cardboard, doing 2 layers, you can put as much cardboard as you want. It will break down in about 6 months or so. Now you add some soil. I'm using compost. You can use topsoil, whatever kind of soil you want. You're gonna add about 1 to 2 inches. This is going to do a couple of things. It's going to keep the cardboard in place, and it's also going to retain the moisture to that area so that the cardboard breaks down. And as the cardboard breaks down, all of this is going to enrich that native clay soil and make it a much better space for planting in the future. At this stage, I like to water everything in. This will make sure if you had any stiff pieces of cardboard that aren't laying flush to the ground, the water will weigh it down and make sure that everything is touching the ground, everything is nice and moist, and the plants stay happy. I normally film all of my YouTube videos by myself, but I actually had the joy of working with my husband on this project. Now you can see that the majority of the work was done by me, but one thing that he insisted was that people really like to see pressure washing videos and that it's kind of like an ASMR thing. So I am going to listen to him since he helped me so much throughout this video filming process and include this clip of him doing the thing that he loves doing, which is pressure washing. The last step is to just add in a layer of mulch. So the cardboard is going to smother out any existing weeds and lawn that were in this area, but the mulch is going to make sure that any of the weed seeds that the air might bring in or that the birds might drop as a present, those don't get a chance to reach this nice compost layer that we added and don't germinate. Also, mulch is like your garden's lipstick. It just looks so good and is so beautiful. Ever since I got this cordless blower from Works, I clean up after myself constantly, and so it's just been a win-win. So let's clean up for a proper before and after picture. So here's a look back at where this garden bed started. And I hesitate calling this an after shot because we all know that I will likely rearrange things and change as the garden grows. But here's what the bed looks like after sheet mulching and planting all of these evergreen perennials and shrubs.
Sushi and I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you are also getting out there and enjoying this incredible fall weather that we're having, taking full advantage of it because now is an incredible time to plant and it's so nice to be outdoors. Hopefully you can take some of these tips and apply them to your garden as you're taking care of the spaces that might be driving you crazy or might be looking a little bare. Now's a great time to plant. Thank you for watching, and Sushi and I will see you in the next video.